Hello and welcome to Gotham Sound live stream, live at Gotham Sound. I am very excited today to talk to Samuel Greene from Zoom. He is on the line with us from Skype. Samuel, hello.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, how are you?
Doing great, doing great.
We are here to talk about the FRC-8 controller. Did I get the model number right?
You did. You
FRC-8, good.
could
And
also call it the F-Control. That's what we've been
F-Control.
calling it.
I like F-Control.
Yeah,
It's vaguely
flow's nicer.
vaguely threatening. But I'm genuinely excited about this product because it turns the F8 and the F4, which for those coming to us cold into this live stream are revolutionary multi-track audio recorders that have stable time code and metadata, and it allows them to have a mix of those input signals. So I guess the first thing I'll start off with, and then Samuel, I'd like to turn it off to you, is this is a control surface, right? No audio other than the monitoring signal passes through this device. Is that right?
Correct. Just a control surface and for both the F8 and the F4.
And so give us an overview of the device.
Absolutely. So as you can see, when you compare it to the size of the F8 or the F4, it's a little bit larger, but fits nicely on top of even if you have a bag that you have the recorder in, could kind of fit on top nicely. Or it's a really good size for a cart as well, not too big that'll get in the way of any of your stuff, but big enough so that you get some nice bigger faders. So let's move the camera in a little bit. I'll look at a little more detail. So we have our 8 faders plus a master fader. When you're using the F4, you'll use just 1 through 6 plus the master. On top of that, you have a knob that can switch between a trim and a pan. So that switches that control. And then we have our PFL button and our arming button. Between there, you have a 12-segment LED so that you can see all your signal level on here. You don't even have to look at the recorder itself. On the master channel, you have an option to switch between the left-right stereo mix, the main out mix, and the sub-out mix volume that you're controlling with that fader. And then you have your metadata buttons. First, you have 3 user buttons, which we'll take a look in a minute at what you can assign those to control. You have your scene increment, your scene name, your note, track name, false take, and then a shortcut to the time code menu of the unit. And then you have the menu and the rotary knobs, same as the menu and rotary knob on the unit itself, your transport controls, and then your headphone volume. On the back of the unit, you have your input for headphone monitoring. So the headphone monitoring does not go through the USB connection. You do need an analog connection, but that ensures that you won't have any other interference or any sort of latency or anything like that. So your headphone signal goes in there, you have volume control there, and then you have your headphone output on the bottom. On the back, we have the 2 USB ports. First, the connection to your F-Series recorder. The second, a keyboard connection you could use with any standard USB keyboard. Typical stuff. And then you have a 4-pin Hiroshi connector for power. That's your first power option. On the back, there is a AA battery compartment. That's how I'm going to be powering today. And then you can also bus power the unit with the F4. You cannot bus power it if you're using the F8.
Samuel, can you walk me through the trim/pan control? How does that work? Is it like a rotary encoder, or is it do you have to pan past it or move it past it? How does it work?
It is not a rotary controller. You do have to trim past to latch on to the previous setting. So, for the easiest settings, if you're able to see the F8 so you know when you're latching on. However, it's pretty easy to tell when you have headphones on when you're listening.
It makes sense because I think you're less you're going to change panning less often, I think.
Right.
So I assume that was the logic of it, was you set your pans and then you switch over to trim, and that's pretty much where you'd leave it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not anticipating a lot of people live panning.
Nice, nice. And
So let's. Hmm?
I was going to say the master fader, does that work in a similar way as you switch back and forth between the different outputs?
Yep. Once you latch onto the previous setting, then it'll take over.
Cool.
So let's hook it up to one of the recorders. So we got our F-Control, we got our F8. Grab a USB cable, plug it in. If you do have the F8, you do need to update the firmware to 3.0, which we released a couple weeks ago. So once I am plugged in, I could go to my menu, USB, FRC-8, and first thing I'm going to want to do is connect. And now I am connected. As you can see, if I arm the tracks on the recorder, we're getting lights on the FRC-8 and vice versa. And then let's go through some of the options that you have for the user keys. So it will default when you get the unit to user key 1 being a slate tone. See the signal going there. User 2 being a mark on the recording, and user 3 being a clip clear indicator, which will clear on the FRC-8 itself as well as the recorder. However, you can change those to be slate mic, set trim link, hold, or a circle track as an extra little note on there for you. So you set your user keys, and then all your other ones are pre-set in there. We hit time code, and we go to our time code menu. Not sure how well you can probably see it on the live stream there, but a nice little shortcut there. And then for things like scene increment and scene name and note and such, will just bring you right to that menu so that you can enter in either with the encoder on the FRC-8 itself or with a keyboard that you have plugged in there.
And have you guys tested a wide range of keyboards for that port? Like I saw on the website, there's somebody using a big keyboard, but can people use mini keyboards or wireless keyboards? Any restrictions there?
So as of right now, we do not know of any restrictions, anything we've ever tested. Obviously, USB keyboards are pretty standardized at this point. So we do not foresee any problem with any keyboard, whether mini or full size, whatever brand. We haven't tested anything that didn't work yet.
Good.
Right now, we can confidently say that a 10-meter USB cable from the FRC-8 to the either F8 or F4 will work very well. If you have a nice quality USB cord, a little bit of a thicker gauge, you could definitely get up to 15 meters, maybe even beyond that. But 10 meters is definitely safe for the longest cable you could use.
That's great. I mean, in typical operation, what would you be looking at the F8 or the F4 for? Is there a tally light on the control surface, like a record confirmation light?
Yeah. So got a couple record tracks ready, so you can see our record lights up, and we are recording. And then you could use the play pause for a mark and pause on top of using the user key as a regular mark.
Great. That's great.
So I mean, pretty easy setup, obviously, when you're connecting to the controller to your recorder. Let's do a quick test. Actually, see what we've done a little bit in the office. But if I disconnect the FRC-8, we lose power there, but we can hook it back in, power on, and you do need to. Oh, nope, just connect it right back up.
That's great.
So don't even need to go back in and hit the connect button. That will be a different story if you lose power on either of the units. But as long as you don't lose power, you can hot swap it right back in.
So even if you're externally powering it, those internal AA's would be a good idea.
Yeah, and that goes for the recorder as well as the controller. Always have double A's in there
Right.
because if you ever lose power, there's even if you don't know already, actually some you can give an indication in your headphone when your power source dies, so a little beep,
Uh-huh.
so that you know that died, and you could search for a new Hiroshi power source while you're still running on double A's, and you're never going to shut down.
That's great. That's great.
So we're expecting in stores. We're hoping to be shipping them out next week to you guys.
Bam. That's really very good. Excellent to know. Next week availability. And what's the street price that you're anticipating?
$249. No, $349.99. Sorry, there.
$349.99. Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic. All right. Any questions from our live stream audience?
Yes. How would we connect this to a cart?
How do you connect it to a cart?
Good question.
I'm assuming mechanically connect it, right?
So there's no built-in mechanical connection. Probably your best bet is to, I'm disconnected here. Probably stick some Velcro.
Yeah.
Top and bottom,
Because
and then
we should
Velcro on your card as well.
Samuel, we should talk about it's made of metal, but I imagine it's pretty light.
Yeah, with batteries in it right here, we're probably weighing in a little over 2 pounds, and that's with the AA batteries in there.
Great. So Velcro should easily be able to hold that and still give you access
Absolutely.
to change.
We are looking into possible like actual mounting systems for a cart, but something we could see a little bit in the future.
Right, and I'm sure there'll be lots of people that would modify the sides or something with eye holes or something like that.
Yeah, and there's a couple of screws here in the bottom that you could definitely rig something up for the more adventurous.
Yeah.
The more adventurous sound engineer out there.
Yes, yeah, that's great. The size is really, I think, perfect for a lot of productions. I think that it's, to me, one of the interesting trends is how much smaller the cameras are getting on typical shows. And the sound rigs have stayed the same, so now we're starting to see things get really miniaturized. I mean, there's a kind of cart, a style of cart called a Euro cart, which is smaller than a traditional cart, and this sort of screams to fit right on there, this size.
Yeah, and on top of size, weight is such an issue with sound guys traveling a lot more than they used to. And you're carrying this on your back all day,
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, I could see somebody also rigging this up like a hostess tray, and putting the recorder and all the wireless in a backpack.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, we've seen a couple guys even do that now with the iPad.
That's right. I mean, I think that and the iPad, and you really could just walk and do a quick mix.
Or even like just throwing down your bag, a couple feet away from you and just walking around with your iPad.
Yeah.
Even I don't know if anybody's seen Andrew Jones online. He's even got like an iPod Touch wristband going. So he's got like a little control on his wrist there. That was pretty funny.
Compelling stuff. Any other questions from live stream land?
What's the best way to monitor the mix from the recorder through the FRC?
So I don't know if you caught that, Samuel. What's the best way to monitor when you're using the FRC-8?
So you're going to be going out the headphone output of the F8 or the F4 into the input on the FRC-8. You want to turn your volume on the F4 or F8 all the way up so that your volume control then moves to the one on the mixing, and then you go out the headphones there. You could work a splitter in there somewhere if you wanted to be able to monitor the headphones from both places. Although you would still kind of be a slave to the volume control um, here. If you were going to split, probably would want to do it from the FRC-8.
Got it. And you can choose what you're monitoring from the FRC-8, is that right? Or do you choose that on the F8?
You could use the PFL to choose specific channels, but other than that, it's going to be whatever you have set in the headphone routing on the unit itself. So that is a setting that you're going to want to set before you walk away from the recorder itself.
Got it. Cool. Well, I think that's all we have for questions.
Cool.
I want to say, is there anything else you want to add before we sign off?
Just that we're really excited to release this product. This product and even the F4 after the F8 and all the firmware updates that we've released have almost purely come from conversations that we've had with customers since we first released the F8. And we want to shoot a big thank you to everybody who has ever posted online or ever contacted us directly for being the help that has helped us get these recorders to where they are right now, and the new products that we have now. And we look forward to continuing to improve them for you in the future.
Manufacturers always hate when I ask this, so I'm going to ask it in a way that I hope you hate it the least.
Okay.
Is it safe to say that this is not the last product that we'll see for the F4 and the F8?
This is not the last product you will see for the F4 or the F8.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much, Samuel. We'll sign off now. As always, our archives are at gothamsound.com/livestream. You can see us on Vimeo and YouTube. And Facebook and Twitter are where we get our ideas. So Facebook us and tweet us our ideas, or you can email them to info@gothamsound.com. Next week, Betso TCX2 timecode transceiver with Nick Houston. Very small timecode box. Very interesting with a built-in radio receiver. So tune in next week, and thank you all for watching.